This is a situation that grows uglier by the minute, and Activision Blizzard's executives' deafening silence is quite telling. Not to just the public, but their own employees. As some of you know, for the last few days we've been discussing and going over this very concerning situation in which a professional Hearthstone player NG Blitzchung Weichung, in a post-game interview on the official Taiwanese Hearthstone stream, stated his support for the Hong Kong protests, in which many individuals are fighting for freedom. Chung specifically shouted, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." And following that stream, Blizzard fired back with an absurd punishment, which was very likely meant to appease the oppressive Chinese government. Chung was banned from competition for 1 year and all of his prize money was taken away. As we went over in yesterday's video on Chinese social media, Blizzard gave further statement, apologizing to their Chinese audience and stating that Blizzard will defend the pride of China, which clearly shows where they stand, or at least the executives at the top, which value money over, freedom and human rights. But I do recommend you check out my previous video on this situation because this is a quickly developing situation. In yesterday's video, we went over US lawmakers slamming Blizzard, companies like Epic Games standing up for free speech and throwing some shade at Blizzard, college Hearthstone players doing their part in supporting Chung and calling out Blizzard, and a well-known caster quitting due to Blizzard's reckless actions. Like I said, a lot going on, but as usual, if you do go on to enjoy this content and want to show your support for gaming coverage like this, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing for more, and turning notifications on so you do not miss out on any new videos. So if you were not already aware, Blizzard has given a new comment to at least one news outlet. A spokesperson told Engadget.com they are currently assessing the situation for now, which, with all the backlash and outrage, you would think by now they would understand they need to do the right thing, but maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. Blizzard is a corporation with investors, and unfortunately the executives at the top are snakes who have shown over the years they don't care or value human rights. They stand for whatever the Chinese Communist Party stands for, as long as they are making lots of money. These vultures at Activision Blizzard, or snakes, whatever, CEO Bobby Kotick actively plots how to exploit and manipulate consumers with egregious and predatory monetization on a daily basis, not caring about the damage they are inflicting on individuals, just looking to play a game and have some fun. For an entertainment company, Activision Blizzard is bottom of the barrel, obviously now far worse than Electronic Arts, and honestly maybe none of this should be a surprise, but what I can say right now is, if Activision Blizzard expects the backlash to go away, they're sadly mistaken. Sure, I understand many are skeptical about gamer boycotts, but this is different. This is about a US company backing and siding with an oppressive regime over freedom and human rights. The fact that Activision Blizzard has to assess this situation is simply pathetic, and thankfully, it seems many Blizzard employees feel the same way, because just the other day, employees staged a walkout to protest Blizzard's decision to punish professional Hearthstone player Wei Chung. The Daily Beast reports a small group of Activision Blizzard employees walked out of work Tuesday afternoon to protest the company's actions against a gamer who expressed support for pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong during an official live stream. One veteran employee would tell the Daily Beast, "The action Blizzard took against the player was pretty appalling, but not surprising. Blizzard makes a lot of money in China, but now the company is in this awkward position where we can't abide by our values." Another employee would say, "I'm disappointed. We want people all over the world to play our games, but no action like this can be made with political neutrality." Now, the Daily Beast would next outline what this protest looked like, in which protesting Blizzard employees from multiple departments gathered at an iconic statue of an orc warrior charging into battle in the center of the company's main campus in Irvine, California, starting around 10 a.m. Pacific time. The demonstrations numbers fluctuated throughout the day, the two employees said, ranging from a dozen to 30, and the protesters departed sometime in the late afternoon. The protesters would have been visible to executive offices which overlook the main plaza, the two employees said. The company did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The protesting employees also solicited signatures for a petition expressing displeasure with Blizzard leadership's handling of the matter that they plan to submit to executives, the two employees said. Discussion about Blizzard's actions and of the protests they said, continued Wednesday. The two employees said Blizzard executives have not taken any public action against the protesters, at least yet. Now, this next part is even more concerning. One of the employees who spoke to the Daily Beast felt that the protests signaled a new era for Blizzard. The company has been complying with government censorship requests within its games in order to keep doing business in one of its biggest markets. Doing business in China, it's been easier to ignore the authoritarianism of the government because they were asking us to do things like remove a skeleton from a game. The stakes are so much higher now. What was previously an obvious decision is much less obvious now. So what this employee has confirmed is actually a suspicion many have had for some time. It was actually just a few months ago in which Hearthstone players accused Blizzard of censoring certain cards to abide by Chinese censorship laws. And while Blizzard at the time claimed it was a move to just update the appearances, now based on what this employee is alleging, it does raise questions and concerns about situations like that, but also all the other censorship demands that none of us knew about or know about yet. Now, if you were curious if there was any photos of this employee protest, one anonymous Blizzard employee posted onto the official Hearthstone subreddit this photo with the caption, "Blizzard employees standing with Hong Kong." And as you can see, some Blizzard staff have umbrellas, obviously in reference to the umbrella movement or the Hong Kong protests which occurred in 2014. Look, I do feel it is necessary mentioning this, but the developers and employees are just as angry as all of us. But they aren't the shot callers. They are just individuals trying to make great games, but unfortunately their leadership are a bunch of cowards. And the more I think about this, the more I have to wonder if Mike Morhaime, the now former president of Blizzard, would have been as silent as J. Allen Brack has been thus far. And I think the answer is no, especially with how outspoken Morhaime had been on previous political issues. Besides Blizzard employees protesting, Hearthstone esports is falling apart, with well-known caster Brian Kibler quitting in protest and slamming Blizzard for valuing money over freedom. Additionally, the college team, which just the other day during their Hearthstone match showed their support for Wei Chung by holding a sign, or I guess a piece of paper, which said "Free Hong Kong, boycott Blizzard," they have since told Vice Games they very likely are quitting in protest. 19-year-old college student Casey Chambers, one of the 3 American University team members on the stream, saying, "I have 15,000 rounds of Hearthstone, I'm done. The game we lost last night was my last game of Hearthstone ever." The college team further states that so far none of them have heard from Blizzard about what happened, though at some point the company will have to talk. On Thursday, they're supposed to continue forward in the tournament. Either way, they don't plan to continue playing in the tournament, but they do want Blizzard to make the decision to kick them out and ban them because of their protest. Us getting banned is probably the correct decision, said Chambers. But what's so disconcerting about the Blitzchung situation is that it wasn't just a fine, it wasn't just a 1-week suspension from Grandmasters, it was you're gone. Everything you've earned up till now is gone. And oh, by the way, 2 casters who just happened to be on the stream while his protest took place also fired. Something else that I briefly touched on last video is players being unable to delete their Blizzard accounts. This seems to not be an isolated incident, sadly. Reclaim the Net is reporting that Blizzard users who are attempting to participate in the boycott by closing their accounts are reporting that Blizzard has disabled all authentication and is preventing them from deleting their accounts. Multiple Blizzard users are saying that when they try to close their account or request a copy of their personal data, they're being presented with a message that reads, "Due to too many attempts, authentication method has been locked. Please try another method for verification," which that could be a big no-no with GDPR, so we'll have to see what happens. This could lead to some legal problems for Blizzard. Now, whether this is some sort of glitch or maybe not, no matter what, this is a bad look and also could have legal consequences. And it does further exemplify the need for Blizzard to cease their silence on this whole situation. But for the last few days, we have been pondering why Blizzard fired the 2 casters, and we still don't really know why. It appears to be that Blizzard wanted to send a message to anyone who speaks against China. Well, we have actually received a statement since from one of the Taiwanese casters named Tommy, who took to Facebook and said the following: "After thinking for a few days, here's my statement. Today I am a commentator. The stage where the winner speaks is what he earned. Let him talk is my job. I did my best to complete my work according to the picture that Blizzard gave me. The result is that it destroys your reputation and ends the cooperation. Thank you, Taiwan Blizzard, for the help and compensation information in the process, but for the entire Blizzard decision, I cannot accept it. In the past 4 years, from gamer to player to commentator, I don't mention how much I've invested. In addition to the work already agreed at this stage, I will not participate in any broadcast of Blizzard games in the future. I won't play any Blizzard games anymore in the future. You have your business considerations, I have my principles, even if the broadcast accounts were most of my income. I don't know where to go after 4 years of hard work, but I really can't agree with you. Finally, I want to send a word to Blizzard. Every voice matters, which might I remind everyone that is supposed to be a core principle, one that is outside Blizzard's main office in California, but clearly now that core principle is a blatant lie that should be covered up because it doesn't exist, at least now. Former Blizzard producer Mark Kern took to Twitter slamming Blizzard, endorsing the hashtag boycott Blizzard, saying this hurts, but until Blizzard reverses their decision on Blitzchung, I am giving up playing classic World of Warcraft, which I helped make and helped convince Blizzard to relaunch. There will be no Mark of Kern Guild after all. And Kern would elaborate in a long thread that he's disappointed in Blizzard caving to the Chinese government. He brings up how the company used to stand for gamers and not being greedy, but clearly that has changed. It's also worth noting in some more news that more politicians worldwide are getting involved. This time a member of Norway's parliament wrote a letter to CEO Bobby Kotick asking him to reconsider the company's position. Additionally, users are reporting that certain battle tag names referencing Hong Kong have been censored, which at this point, it's just not surprising at all. But as I keep saying, this is a developing situation, and honestly, who knows what will happen next. There already is individuals staging BlizzCon protests, which I promise everyone watching, it's going to be a mess no matter what. I really have no idea how Blizzard staff will be able to do the event unless something massive changes, like the Activision Blizzard executives take a stand on the right side of history and grow a spine. But thus far, they have not shown that that is the route that they wish to take. BlizzCon is a few weeks away, and I can already imagine all the Winnie the Pooh and Overwatch May Hong Kong hero outfits that people will be wearing. Might I also throw a suggestion out there? Someone, maybe dress as Fallout's Liberty Prime and just start screaming his infamous voice lines like, "Democracy is non-negotiable, and communism is a temporary setback on the road to freedom." Anyway, that's where we are for now. The protests and boycotts continue on social media, and as VentureBeat noted, the reason why Activision Blizzard is so conflicted is because they make a lot of money in China, and fear upsetting the Chinese government and losing the market. Additionally, right now Activision Blizzard is awaiting Chinese approval for Call of Duty Mobile, which is exactly why they are cowardly still assessing this situation. But they still are feeling the financial damage, with their stock once again taking a hit today, and it's down about 5% since this debacle began, which ultimately, this trouble could force Activision Blizzard's hand sooner rather than later. But yeah, what do you make of the ongoing protests with Blizzard employees fighting back? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get in video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.